Good morning. We'll call the Corpus Christi City Council to order on Tuesday, November the 10th. I'll give us the invocation, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have City Secretary Rebecca Huerta call the roll. So if you would join me in opening prayer. Our Father, we're grateful for the beautiful day that you've given us. We pray that you would keep us safe in it, and we pray that you would watch over those that are sick in our community and the medical professionals that are attending to them. We pray for their health and their safety and their protection. We thank you for our first responders and all they do every day. And Father, we pray for our country, for the leadership and the decisions that are made, that it's all in the best interest of our country and our state and our city. Guide us now in all that we do. These things we ask in your name. Amen. Join me in the pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Ms. Huerta, if you'd be kind enough to call the roll. We have 2 or 3 members virtually participating. I think one is out of town, going to be absent.
Yes, sir. Mr. Roy.
All right.
So I was about to call the roll. Mayor Joe McComb.
Here.
Council members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Gail Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter. Mr. Hunter? I know he's scheduled, but he might have a little trouble connecting. Ben Molina.
Present.
Everett Roy is absent. Greg Smith.
Here.
City Manager Peter Zanoni.
Here.
City Attorney Miles Risley. Mayor and Council, a quorum of the council and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
Did you call Roland's name?
I'm sorry, Mayor?
Roland Barrera?
I did. He's here.
Oh, okay.
He virtually.
If Michael's not here, that gives us 6,
Yes.
and that's 2/3, right?
Yes, sir.
Because about 90% of the agenda requires a 2/3 vote.
That's right, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Well, just a couple of things before we get into the official council meeting. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, and we want to take an opportunity to honor all of those veterans that have served our country and express appreciation to them. And one of the ways that we can get a patriotic spirit, if you haven't been down there, you need to take a drive down Ocean Drive. There's 1,250 American flags out there flying in the breeze, and it's a beautiful sight. And as my wife said, as we drove by the other day, she said, this is bringing a tear to my eye. Her father was in the Army during World War II, and I'm sure a lot of people have stories that can be related to that. So we want to remember our veterans, and it's heroes. It's not necessarily all military heroes. I mean, everybody's got heroes in their lives, whether it be a parent, an uncle, an aunt, next door neighbor. So we just want to recognize all those special people on this Veterans Day, in addition to our military folks. And this is being done by the Corpus Christi, the Rotary Club of Corpus Christi, and for the first responders, and obviously for our veterans. And the main sponsors of the event donated 80 American flags, and then the public they sold out this year, and it gets bigger each year, but if you want to have a hero recognized and have a flag for him next year, it's I think it's $50 per hero you want to recognize. Pretty nice thing, and it goes from Ropes Park, Cole Park, Oleander Point at Cole Park, and then along Ocean Drive. So we encourage you to go by there and take a look at it, and then of course remember Veterans Day. And in today's world with drones, it gives you a whole different perspective, and we were fortunate that Wyatt Productions has taken some drone footage of the flags honoring our heroes, And we'd like to show you that video right now, just so you can kind of see for yourself if you haven't seen it, but I would certainly encourage you to go down there and take a look at it. Seeing that, it's pretty impressive. And I think that's another way we identify as being very strong in support of our military and our installations here, the Army Depot and the Naval Air Station. And so we may want to make sure we get a copy of that and send to our congressional delegation and the folks up at the Pentagon to make sure they know we appreciate them. And speaking of Veterans Day, Gil Hernandez is a veteran, so thank you for your service. And Everett is out of town today, and he's a veteran. I think, is that maybe some other I don't think there's any other veterans on the council, but we want to thank them for that service. Another big day in Corpus Christi today is the Coastal Bend Day of Giving, and that's where, if you excuse me, it's the Coastal Bend Day of Giving, and through the Coastal Bend Community Foundation, that today is a twofer. For every $1 you donate, they'll match it. So if you've got a charity that does, you want to make a donation to, if you give $1, they'll get $2 as a result of that going through the foundation. So that you can do that online, and it goes, I think, until midnight. So they do a wonderful work in our community and help a lot of people in the area. It's not just in Corpus Christi, but it's the Coastal Bend area that they help, and you can designate which charity you want it to, or you can just give it to the foundation and they'll match it to wherever they feel like the funds need to go to. And then on November the 12th, we have a proclamation that's going to be declaring Dementia-Friendly Corpus Christi Day. I think more and more of us are becoming aware of either family or friends or acquaintances or realizing are dealing with dementia, and I think we need to be sensitive and understanding about that. We want to make sure we recognize that day. And then National Nurse Practitioner Week started on the 8th and goes through the 14th of this week. So those are some of the proclamations we've presented since we met last. And then the final one is National Home Care and Hospice Month. That's a service that it's wonderful to have available. And it's appreciated by those that have to use that service, and for those that provide that service, it's a real blessing to those families. So National Home Care and Hospice Month for November. All right, Ms. Huerta, I was given about 3 or 4 written comments for the public comment period. Is that anything in addition to what we've already received?
No, sir, nothing in addition, but we do have one phone-in caller, so.
All right, well, let's take the public comment then and get that taken care of. So go get a hold of whoever it is.
Just one moment.
Mayor and Secretary too, can we, I think one of the listeners, that is their phone's not muted. There's a lot of somebody's, yeah, everybody.
Somebody online, just to remind everyone, please mute your microphone, as we're getting some background noise. It's hard to hear. Thank you. Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Hi, can you go ahead and identify yourself, state your name and address, and then make your comment, please?
Okay, I will. Thank you. Shirley Thornton, 1917 Woodcrest Drive, representing the Flower Bluff Citizens Council. Honorable Mayor and Council, within the next few weeks, you will be asked to approve a grant that will provide funding for a low-barrier encampment within the city limits. It is brought to you and supported by some very well-meaning people who are desperate for a solution. Still, there are unintended consequences of such a facility I hope you will consider. What might it mean for the homeless, their families, and the surrounding community? Here's what one Louisville man said about the low-barrier shelter he stayed in. Quote, "It's a mess in here. It's arguing, fussing, cussing, little kids running around listening to all kinds of madness. You don't get no rest. It's loud every day. It's loud every night. You wake up to arguments, fights, fist fights. I'm waiting on someone to get shot one morning," unquote. Families and individuals experiencing unsheltered homelessness deserve access to decent, high-quality places to stay as they create their paths out of homelessness. Poor quality environments can reinforce negative perceptions about what people experiencing homelessness need or deserve as living environments. What is the plan for addressing those who are attracted to the encampment but can't get in because it is full? Will they be turned back to the streets? How will they be tracked as they seek assistance in other parts of the city? Is there any way the grant funds can be used for something that contributes to a long-term solution? These camps can pose a problem for families trying to find their loved ones because there is no coordinated entry to track who's inside. When I went on a ride-along with a CCPD officer that included walking Blucher Park, we were approached by a man carrying an 8x10 picture of his 21-year-old mentally ill son who had been given a bus ticket to Corpus Christi by the Oklahoma City Police Department. The man's wife and daughters waited in the car. He said they were spending their family vacation searching for their son who desperately needed his medication. They feared he would hurt himself or someone else if he didn't get help soon. The problem they encountered was that of no coordinated entry. When Seattle opened a low-barrier encampment in Licton Springs, the police recorded a 221% increase in reported crimes and public disturbances, with a dramatic rise in property destruction, violent crimes, prostitution, arson, and drug dealing in the surrounding area. When KSAT 12 News requested the calls for service to Haven for Hope from January 1st, 2014 to December 31st, 2015, it was discovered that 1,877 calls were made and responded to by San Antonio PD. The United States Interagency Council on Homelessness has found that such encampments have little impact on reducing homelessness, are costly in money, staff, time, and effort, are difficult to manage and maintain, and are difficult to close once opened. How will success be measured? What is the long-term funding plan for the facility? There will be unintended consequences, so the first rule must be do no harm to any of the stakeholders. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
you.
Ms. Thornton. Have a good day. Okay, those conclude our comments today, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. All right, to start our meeting today, we have two presentations, one by the Corpus Christi International Airport update on operations, and then one on the municipal golf course. We may have to go out and kind of make a tour of the course this afternoon if we have time to check it out real good. But Mr. Zanoni, you want to introduce
Yes,
these
sir.
presentations?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as the Mayor said, we do have two high-charging presentations. Both are important to the community. The first one will be on our air service, and this update will come from the leadership team from our Corpus Christi International Airport. You know that COVID-19 has dramatically changed
Y'all, please watch your microphones. Y'all need to mute your microphones. I don't know who that was, but we heard that. Mute your microphones.
Okay, let me,
Different, Peter.
yeah, it didn't sound like one of our staff members or anything. But as you know, COVID-19 has dramatically changed air travel across the nation, as air travel has dramatically decreased, right? And so we're mindful of that here because we do own and operate our own airport. However, our international airport is recovering faster than the national average, and that is in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Since April, our airport operations have seen a steady rebound and is outpacing the national average in terms of both traffic growth and the restoration of services by the airlines, right? So we're having more enplanements and more restoration of flights. Staff continues to adjust operationally and is continuing to plan for the future because we know the air service industry is going to change because of the pandemic. In October, our assistant directors who are here today, Kevin Smith and Tyler Miller, they attended 2 conferences to further bolster us as a airport operation, but also to attract additional airlines potentially and meet experts in the industry. The first one was the International Aviation Forecast Summit in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then the other one was Takeoff North America Conference in Denver, Colorado. And in that latter one, the one in Denver, Colorado, Brett Odding, our CVB director, accompanied the 2 assistant directors there in that conference. So we're thankful to Brett and the partnership that CVB and their experts are having with our airport staff. Kevin Smith and Tyler will be presenting today, and they'll be highlighting much more than I just did, the progress that's being made at the airport. And we must remember, less than 15 months ago, it still is, but less so, the concern and the worry of the airport was on the minds of many council members, including Councilman Greg Smith. We convened a task force that is still in place. It's slowed down a little bit because of the pandemic. But I know that on my list of things that the council and the community wanted us to improve, that was airport operations. And with the hiring of Kevin and Tyler, we're on the way in this important area. There's good improvements happening, and we look forward to hearing them this morning. So we're going to turn it over to you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, Mayor and City Council members. We've got a quick presentation to go over. We'll try not to take up too much of your valuable time. So just a quick update on what we've been doing since April, since we arrived. Next slide, please. We're going to talk a little bit about COVID-19 impacts, not just locally, but nationally, and what proactive measures the aviation industry has taken as well as us locally. A little information on our digital marketing campaign that we've undertook, air service development update, and then a construction update. Next slide. So just to give you an idea of the impact to nationwide enplanements, you can see there in April, we dropped down to about 2 million passengers. It was a terrible month for the aviation industry. And it started to recoup, but you can also see the flattening of that curve for the growth. Next slide. Locally, our enplanements also took a drop. We were seeing as little as 60 passengers a day in April. It was a really rough month to start this new career. But as you can see, our curve didn't flatten. Our curve is continuing to go up and to climb, and we're really excited about that. Next slide. And just to compare those two together, I wanted to give you a visual of how the rest of the nation has flattened out and Corpus Christi is continuing to increase. Next slide. And as far as flights, they're returning to Corpus Christi. We're only down 27% of our flights that we had last November. We just got word that Southwest will be adding back one more flight in January, and United will also be back to full capacity in December. So we will have all but one flight back at the airport starting in January. So I believe January 8th is the the date for the Southwest flight. So we've got to get Southwest to add that one more flight back, and we'll be at 100%. We're real excited about that. Next slide. So COVID-19, this is the message. You might have heard it today on the news. We're really pushing this message out as a aviation community. But it's safer to fly on a plane than it is to go to the grocery store. That air recycles on the plane every 2 to 4 minutes. And being a foot away from somebody with a mask on is just as safe as a 6-foot distance. So that's something we've got to get out. And that study was done by the Department of Defense, and it's since been confirmed by several other entities. Next slide. Some of the things we've done locally, we purchased 2 of these Clorox Total 360 machines. We were the second airport in the nation to get one, and they can clean 9,000 square feet per half hour. So we can do the entire terminal in about 2 hours. We use them every 30 days because that's how long the chemical lasts to kill the virus, and all viruses, not just COVID. And then we use it overnight, and then we also use it on our back offices on the weekends. So we kind of rotate those to make sure all of them are getting sanitized every 30 days. Next slide. The other thing we did is we installed over 30 hand sanitizers throughout the terminal, TSA checkpoint, and we added these Pure Air 3000 machines to each gate as well as the TSA checkpoint. And it basically has 2 different types of air purifying devices, light and a water system that helps kill viruses and bacteria. So we have those running constantly at all the gates and TSA checkpoint. Next slide. Our digital marketing campaign, we felt this was really important to get to try to help retain some of our customers here locally, which is a big effort of ours. So when customers search on any of these search engines or Facebook or anywhere else to try to find flights, they're going to get an ad that's going to pop up. You can see it there on the right-hand side. And 46% of the people that were served that ad clicked on it. And it basically takes them to the different airlines that serve Corpus Christi and gives them the option to actually book the flight with the carriers that fly out of Corpus Christi. And as you can see, there were 700,000 impressions, so 700,000 people saw that ad. So we're really proud of that digital marketing effort. All right, next slide. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the first conference we went to, the International Aviation Forecast Summit that Peter mentioned. Our speakers there included the CEO of Sun Country, Delta, Spirit, Southwest, and then we had representatives from Embraer, Boeing, Airbus, Volaris, and IATA, the International Air Transportation Association. Next slide. And these are some of the topics that they spoke about and that we discussed as a aviation community: the recovery after COVID, air service development during the pandemic, and market outlook for short, medium, and long term. The other message that we took away from this conference is air cargo is booming. And we feel like that's an untapped market here in Corpus Christi. So we're going to definitely be focusing on that over the next 6 months to a year. Next slide. The other thing we learned is the experts don't agree on aviation's future and timeline for recovery. You can see there Sun Country is already back to pre-COVID levels. They're actually carrying more passengers now than they were pre-COVID. So they're doing a great job of recovering. And basically it's because their market was only the leisure market. They had no business travelers at all. Delta's forecasting 2023 to 2025. They're not even sure which year it's going to recover in. United saying 2024, and the Boyd Group, who put this conference on, actually predicted 2026. But the important thing is airlines are opening new cities right now. Southwest announced several cities recently, going back to Intercontinental, going into O'Hare, Colorado Springs. So they're definitely moving into some new markets. Sun Country, Volaris, Spirit all announced new cities. Delta and United are pretty firm they will not be announcing any new cities. And with that, I'm going to, next slide, please. Yeah, I'm going to turn it over to Tyler and let him tell you about our other exciting conference we went to.
Good morning. So 2 weeks after we went to the Boyd Conference, we partnered with Brett Otting and Visit Corpus Christi and went to Denver, Colorado to attend the Takeoff North America Routes Conference. At this conference, we met one-on-one with 11 different airlines. We asked them a lot of questions about how they perceived the community of Corpus Christi and the airport of Corpus Christi, and what kind of opportunities they've seen at our airport in the past 10 years, and what kind of opportunities they may see in the future. We provided them with a lot of new updated information and opened their eyes to the 15.5 million leisure travelers that actually attend and visit our region every year. And we showed them a couple of opportunities that our airport has that other airports don't have right now. We've got some vacant hangars and office space that was made available when Signature Flight Support left that is actually a very high commodity right now. As the industry reshuffles and restructures, a lot of companies are reassessing their costs, and they're realizing that they're getting charged too much at larger airports like DFW for rent, and so they're looking for smaller airports nearby like Corpus Christi. So we have an asset that other airports don't have, and actually that has led to follow-up meetings with at least 4 different airlines in the near future, not only about that asset, but just general business opportunities at the airport. So we're really already building those strong foundation relationships, and optimistic that they're going to start garnering some new opportunities. Next slide. So in addition to air service development, we are also not letting up on our construction and capital improvements. We're finishing the reconstruction of all of our pavement on the terminal and the East GA apron this year. We're converting the remaining asphalt to concrete. That is the green rectangle and blue rectangle on that map of our airfield. We're also resealing all concrete joints on the West GA apron. That's that orange rectangle in the northwest corner. And we're installing new seals into the concrete joints to basically extend the useful life of that pavement. And finally, we're reconstructing the perimeter roads between those 2 aprons with that red road. That road is highly serviced by fuel trucks and different ground support equipment that support the airlines and general aviation both. So these are all high-impact projects. We're wrapping up work on the inside or on the outside before we transition to work on the inside. Next slide. We're going to be kicking off our terminal construction and rehab projects. It's a 6-year project span, $23 million in improvements. Our terminal assessment was recently completed, where we assessed every aspect of our terminal building, and now we've got a very nice roadmap over the next 6 years on where we're going to spend our money to replace, renovate, and reconstruct every aspect of our terminal. Projects will include terminal roof and window replacement, our inbound and outbound baggage systems, energy management system, access control, HVAC, curbside security, restrooms, gate lounges, backup power systems, and more. We're really taking a look at every aspect of our terminal, both public-facing and behind the scenes, to breathe new life into the infrastructure of the airport. And the important message that we were able to take to the airlines, even new airlines and our incumbent airlines, is that this $23 million project will not affect their rate base. None of this cost is getting passed on to our customers. This is all federally funded through the Airport Improvement Program and through local funding. So this is all very good news for the airlines, and we're structuring it correctly to partner with them. Next slide. We're actually kicking off the terminal assessment and those terminal replacement projects with the passenger boarding bridge replacement project, where we'll be replacing a number of our boarding bridges. They're all 20 years old, and they're due for replacement. That project will actually include new pavement markings, and so we're actually going to be conducting an assessment on all of the aircraft that we service today and all of the upgauged, bigger aircraft that we could be servicing in the future. And we're going to be restriping our tarmac and reconfiguring our entire interface to be able to accommodate larger aircraft and more frequent aircraft in the future. So we're building for growth and building for the future rather than just today. That project is in its finalization stages of the concept and design. We've been meeting with all of our stakeholders, like the airlines and ground support companies, and we'll be moving forward with an RFP for those boarding bridges this year. We're also moving 2 pieces of TSA baggage screening equipment from the public lobby in our terminal into a more secured location out of the public site. We've been meeting with stakeholders to finalize that concept and design. That's a quick picture snapshot of what we're looking at for that. This was a goal for the airport to get done this year, and we're happy to report that we're on track and on schedule for this project. We'll be meeting with TSA shortly to solidify investment partnerships with them, because they've indicated availability of funds to help move their equipment from one location to another, and even beyond that. So we're excited to partner with TSA and, again, kind of lessen the local burden on some of these projects. Next slide. My final update in the construction side for you is the acquisition of a new air rescue firefighting truck. This Final price is $860,000. This project is AIP funded, 100% funded by the federal government out of Grant 60, which I believe was just the second reading was a couple weeks ago. So thank you for your support on this. This truck will be an Oshkosh product, one of the leading competitors and firms in the industry. The features will include a 1,500-gallon capacity of water, 500 pounds of dry chemical, under-truck nozzles, rescue saws, and digital video recording device on the truck as well. The only part of this that is not federally funded is that high-reach extendable turret, but we are choosing to locally fund that feature. That way we have 2 trucks of exactly identical platforms, good consistency for training and for use, as well as obviously a very useful tool. That is that piercing nozzle that can pierce the aircraft skin and increase the survivability of a fire on an aircraft for the passengers. Next slide. So I'll bring Kevin back up just to help me close this out. And just some final comments, though. We're building a strong team at Corpus Christi. We've got a very strong group of industry professionals that are leading us through this pandemic, and we're actually coming out of this faster and stronger than the industry average. We've got a great terminal today. It's very beautiful. We've been maintaining it very well over the last 20 years, and it's going to be getting better over the next 6. Most of this is federally funded, and none of it will be impacting our customers. And we are going out and engaging with the airlines like we never have before, and we're starting to build relationships for future growth and future business opportunities, not just in the traditional airline sector, but in all aspects of aviation, to try and diversify the airport and provide a more solid platform for the future. Kevin?
Thanks, Tyler. Yeah, and just to close out, the traffic is returning to leisure destinations first, and so we're really happy about that. We feel like March is going to be really close to what last September was for us. So we feel like we'll almost be back to our normal selves in March. And then again, the CCIA, we're just recovering faster than the U.S. average, and I think that's the big story, and we're really happy about that. The airlines are very happy about that as well. So we're both here to answer any questions you might have.
Gun Mayor.
I don't know whether it's from AAA or who it was, but they're saying, survey they did, that 50% of Americans are planning on traveling for Thanksgiving. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, we're ready for them.
So that's got to be a lot of people on the street and the airport. So that's a lot of people. Mr. Smith.
Thank you all for the great report. So as you were in Denver meeting with the airlines, what is the view of the airlines of Corpus Christi, and is it an accurate reflection? As you were talking to them, were you able to attract them, to entertain them to fly into Corpus Christi?
Yeah, so Tyler did a great job of asking each airline. We started off the conversation is, what is your perception of Corpus Christi, and where are we on your radar as an airline? And every airline was different. There were a couple airlines that had never even heard of Corpus Christi before that fly out of the Northeast. But they're one of the airlines that actually is getting overcharged in Portland, Maine right now. And they're like, you don't have snow in Corpus Christi? And so they're literally looking at us as a possible maintenance base to move their aircraft operations from Portland, Maine to Corpus Christi. So we've got a follow-up conversation with them. But none of the airlines even knew their own operations here. American, for example, said, well, we don't have enough load factor coming out of Corpus to really add anything or do anything different. And I asked her, I said, where are you getting your information? And she looked it up on the computer and she goes, oh, I'm wrong. She goes, we're running 86% load factors out of Corpus right now in the middle of COVID. And so she brought up the thought of, well, let us look at a Charlotte route out of Corpus. So Americans looking at that. Now, I don't know what she's going to find out of that, but we gave her all the data we could find about all of our East Coast customers. So we know how many people are flying to New York. We know how many people are flying to Orlando. So if we can get them to Charlotte and connect there to the East Coast, it's a pretty impressive number. And so we feel like we've got a great story to tell, but the airlines don't know the Corpus Christi community. So we've got to get that message out. We've got to tell our story. And Councilman Smith's been great about helping us build that story, and he gave us more information just today that we're going to use in the next presentation. So we're going to continue to drive home. Another great example, Brett brought some tremendous data. There's 60,000 people driving from the Colorado region, Denver, Colorado Springs, to Corpus every year. If we could just get 20% of those people off the road and have them fly, it's a home run for 2 flights, 3 flights a day. So it's a great story, but we got to get the message out there and make sure the airlines know what we're all about.
Well, and thank you. And, to follow up on that, the fact that they don't know is probably why our service in the last 20 years, we've been in that decline. So thank you all so very much for putting the presentations and telling the Corpus Christi story. We've got this great story. We're becoming a vacation destination. I know how frustrating it was for me. Well, we're a drive market. Well, we box ourselves into being a drive market because that's all we said. And I know I've talked with Brett with the CVB, and he realizes we can be much more than a drive market. And, expanding, watching Whataburger leave and HEB leave and Omni leave with it, one of the common things I hear on the EDC side is our lack of air service. And it looks like we've turned that corner. One more area in the city that we're moving ahead. And team, airport, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, thank you. A few years back, I used to fly to Atlanta on a regular basis when Delta used to be part of our group here. I'm sure you have some numbers associated with that. It was very convenient because I had to make my semi-annual trip to Atlanta because I used to work for the Coca-Cola company. And so that's where we're headquartered. It was very convenient, but when we lost them, it was inconvenient, to say the least. But do you have numbers as to what that would look like? I mean,
yeah, so we actually talked to Joe Esposito with Delta Airlines at the International Forecast Summit that we went to. And we had some communication back and forth on email, and we shared some numbers to, again, the East Coast, what we feel like Delta could do today versus what they could do in 2008 when they pulled out. And basically he said that they're not looking to add any new cities right now, but they would keep us on their radar. So we've at least got our foot in the door with them, and we're going to keep following up with them as they continue to recover and as our numbers continue to go up. I think we go back with another story maybe in January to them and say, look what we did in November and December. You're missing a great opportunity to hit a market that other airlines are moving into, the leisure market, and they're missing an opportunity. But I think we could support a once a day to Atlanta easy.
I meant in reference to your flight to Charlotte. I mean, if you're going to have travel out to the East Coast, that was the route to the East Coast,
right,
via Delta.
Right.
Now, I know they made their choice to leave in 2008, and in 2008 we were going through somewhat of an economic downturn. So I don't know what those numbers look like now, but what we can see before the 2008 crash.
Yeah, they were running about a 60% load factor out of here.
And those were the small.
Yeah, they were the
jumper.
RJ. I think they were
CRJ 200s.
200s.
CRJ 700s.
So what, maybe 30,
40-seater,
40-seater somewhere in there?
Yeah, and they were still not filling that up. So it's got to be, it's got to make sense to them financially. And I think now, our population has grown tremendously since 2008. We've been talking to these airlines about the $50 billion of infrastructure being approved and underway. Talked about the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've given them every piece of data about the city and how we're growing and how we're looking in the future is what we're trying to show them.
Okay. The second question I have is the last time you were here, I asked about fuel providers for the private jet side.
Yes, sir.
And we only have one. I know we're in kind of a unique situation with the pandemic, but have you had any inroads or in getting a second provider?
I'm going to let Tyler handle that one.
Yeah, so this is actually something we've been giving a lot of attention to because it's probably one of our bigger opportunities for business development in general. So a lot of factors have gone into kind of our East Side Development Plan is now what we're calling it because it's opportunities not just for an FBO or fuel provider, but for anybody. What we're looking at right now is an opportunity to go to some of these airlines who have indicated interest and maybe cut out some real estate for some new players and new entrants into the market, but leave enough real estate behind so that we can issue an RFP for an FBO and have a second fuel provider on the airfield, whether it's an incumbent tenant or a new entrant into the market. So we're kind of letting some of these negotiations and some of these conversations with airlines to pan out just a little bit more so we can kind of gauge their level of interest and what kind of real estate they would be interested in before we kind of cut that out and then move forward with a new RFP with a new scope. Furthermore, that construction project that I mentioned on the east side would kind of have an impact on anybody coming in, a new entrant to the market, kind of messes up their entire entrance into their infrastructure. So we're letting that play out a little bit longer. But we do have an RFP document finalized, or continuing to finalize it with new information. And as soon as we're ready to make that decision on what that will look like for a second fuel provider, we'll pull the trigger. But our intention is to pursue one as soon as we kind of know what that will look like for that new entrant.
Okay, so you're waiting for the construction to be complete.
Construction and also some discussions with potential people who might want some of that real estate.
So what time frame are you looking at?
That's a good question. So the construction is 300 days of construction, but the phase that is impacting their entrance is not that whole time. So tentatively, I would say probably Q1 or Q2 of 2021 for an RFP to be able to go out.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone out in the hinterland? All right, don't hear anybody. Well, we appreciate it. Keep up the good work and fill the planes up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
Tyler. And Kevin, thank you. Okay, Mayor, our next item on the agenda is a presentation as well, but there is an action item on this one. There's some slight amendments to the lease agreement. But let me just do some opening comments on this as well. So recently, I finally made some time not to play golf, but to visit the golf courses to see their operations. And in my 17 months there, I hadn't had a chance to get on the greens and see what type of an asset we have here for the city. And so, as we know, we have two golf courses: the Gabe Lozano on Brownsville Road, and then the Oso Beach on South Alameda. And I went there to see the many improvements that have been completed over the past 10 years by our management partner, Foresight Golf. And during the tour, I was impressed by the work they have done and meeting their staff and seeing some of the patrons. It was clear soon into the tour that we have a great asset and some great operators there at the golf courses. Prior to Forsyth taking over the golf courses, I've been told that there was much needed landscaping and other work that had to be done. That includes irrigation systems and new facilities to house things like the golf carts and some of the maintenance material. And so we could see a lot of those improvements out there that have been done in the past 10 years. The two golf courses have been successfully managed by Forsyth since 2011. And so that's about 10 years. They're nearing their first 10-year term. And the contract that the council passed then allowed the city manager to execute a 10-year renewal. And we're looking at doing that in January. I had a chance to meet the executive team, and I asked them to come here today to present to the council, because this is truly a great story. We know we see a lot of the bad stories out there nationally and sometimes locally, but it's always good to celebrate those successes. And having the management team from Forsyth come today, I'm appreciative that they're here, and we're glad that you'll get a chance to hear from them. Just a little background on them as a company. They're based in Bernie, Texas, and they were founded in 1998 by Dan Pedrati and Ed Miller, and they're both here with me today. Their vision, they told me this on the greens, is to build a golf course operation that has high quality but doesn't break the bank for the golfer, right? So it's a quality product at a reasonable price, I think is maybe one way of saying it. And at $26, I think, around, if that's how you say it, with a golf cart, I must agree that that's an excellent price locally for our folks and tourists as well. So Foresight, this is not their only business managing, and they just didn't start recently. They own or manage 7 golf courses in Texas, so a total of 7. That includes the Bandit in New Braunfels, the Buckhorn in Comfort, Plum Creek in Kyle, and Cypress Wood in Spring, Texas. So here locally, both of our golf courses have shown steady improvement in the number of rounds played and revenue growth, with 2019 being the best year yet. So this is the 10th year. This is the best year, most rounds played, and highest revenue comes in. And you'll see in their presentation, we get 50% of that revenue as part of the contract. So that benefits the city from a financial standpoint, as well as a great asset for our citizens and traveling tourists to use. Foresight does customer satisfaction surveys, and they consistently have received a good or excellent in all their ratings. And they've created innovative strategy solutions to improve the golf courses, both on the business side of it, but then also the land management side as well. Okay, so let me have our speakers come up. I did want to, not everybody's going to speak, but Lawrence Vera is here. He's the general manager. Lawrence, can you wave your hand or stand up? There you go. Lawrence is a native of Corpus Christi, and he's the general manager at both of the operations. He's there quite a bit, right, Lawrence? And he showed us around when we were there. He's a nice gentleman. We're glad he's the on-the-grounds person. Michael Weiland is the vice president of operations. Michael's here. And he's the immediate supervisor of Lawrence, and also he oversees the golf professional lead, team member lead. And then Ed Miller is, Ed, can you stand up? Ed is our chief, or the company's chief operating person and partner. And Ed has over 30 years of golf course management experience, including oversight of golf operations at many resorts and private clubs in the country. And you can tell when you spend several hours with Ed, he's definitely knowledgeable in the field. And then Dan Pedrati is the president and one of the founding partners of Foresight. And he concentrated his efforts on the vision and the growth of the company and the courses. And he has a graduate degree from Texas A&M and a master's on real estate development from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So thank you, Dan, for being here as well. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to, I'm not sure who's speaking first. Is it Ed? Ed is going to speak, okay. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Mr. Zoney and Mr. Mayor, members of the council, for the opportunity to present today. It's truly been a privilege to serve the city of Corpus Christi and its constituents. And we're looking forward to sharing the last 10 years. If I could have the first slide, please. As Mr. Zanoni said, we're about to complete. And as we discussed this presentation, it made sense to change our tactic a little bit, rather than cover the last year, to actually go back and cover the entire term, since many of you may not be aware of some of the details of the relationship and the operations that have been taking place at the golf course. So we're going to talk a little bit about the last year and things that were done, but we're going to talk about pretty much what we have had the privilege to accomplish over the entire term of the lease. If I can have the next slide, please. First of all, the structure of our deal, as Mr. Zanoni said, we share whatever net operating income that the golf courses earn with the city. And the reason that we do this is when we competed for the RFP back in 2010. We were highly motivated to win the contract with the city. My partner is born and raised here in Corpus Christi. He really wanted to be able to come and serve. We recognized the opportunity that was here, and as a result, what type of structure would be the most true partnership that we could create with the city of Corpus Christi. So we settled on a net operating income share. So whatever profit we make, the city gets the exact same lease share payment. There was another consideration, as we knew that the city wanted to eliminate funding of operational losses with general fund money. So we created the provision that says if there's a loss, our company will be responsible for the loss. And fortunately, that hasn't happened in the last 10 years, but the deal was structured so that there's no risk to the city. Next slide, please. So as we have 2 golf courses, the facilities are a little bit different. We have the most golf at the Lozano Golf Center, which is on Old Brownsville Road. We have a 18-hole regulation golf course. We also have a 9-hole executive course, and we have a practice range. And having all of those facilities on one property is really a pretty special arrangement and opportunity. At Oso Beach, we have an 18-hole regulation golf course. We do not have a practice range, so when you go to Oso, you're going to pretty much play golf. Next slide, please. And I think you're all aware of where the golf courses are located. One in the south by the bay, and then the Lozano Golf Center is on the north side of town. It has a great view of the city. I mean, you can be on the golf course and see downtown Corpus Christi. Very nice. Next slide, please. So as we begin, we want to talk a little bit about the Capital Surcharge Fund, which was a very welcome provision of the lease that came with the relationship. And what the Capital Surcharge Fund does is it requires us to set aside a certain amount of money per round of golf paid for. It's $1.50 for a regular green fee, $1 for senior green fee, and 75 cents for any junior green fee. And when you have 2 golf courses and they average 70 to 75,000 rounds of golf per year, it actually equates to a pretty significant amount of capital, which we've been able to collect from our patrons and deploy to the benefit of the golf courses and facilities $1,035,000. That's as of August this year. If I could have the next slide, please. So what do we do with that money? When we first began operations with the city's golf courses, Oso Beach Golf Course was making a little bit of money, and Lozano was losing all of that money and more. So we said, well, it makes sense to figure out how to fix the Lozano Golf Course and try and improve its playability conditions and improve the whole business picture there. So we did a lot of work to the golf course. We added over 100 irrigation heads. There was a lot of hard pan, just area that didn't have grass. And since we have pretty much unlimited recycled water provided to us by the city, let's get these areas irrigated. So we did that. We now have grass in all of those areas, and when you look out there, it's pretty much wall-to-wall green, which is what our customers and most golfers desire to have. We also redid 25 sand bunkers, and that's a complete renovation. We removed the sand, we reshaped the bunker, we added new drainage, and then we reinstalled new light-colored sand. We built 9 new forward tees, which created a 5th set of tees that was quite a bit shorter than the existing forward tee, which really improves the playability and the enjoyment for people that don't hit the ball all that far. And it's been great for our seniors, for our ladies, and our junior golfers. They, they all utilize those tees a lot. Also made multiple repairs to the facilities, and with that money we purchased various maintenance equipment, mowers, utility vehicles, etc. If I could have the next slide, please. This is a couple of pictures. The photo on the left is the 6th hole at Lozano, and the photo on the right is the 17th green. This is what they look like after the bunkers have been redone. Next slide. I want to take just a few seconds to talk about how we were able to get the most bang for the buck with the capital surcharge dollars. Most of the golf course projects were done, what we call in-house. We have the expertise to build golf courses, to remodel golf courses, and as a result, the monies that we spent were pretty much just on materials. The labor came from operations at the golf course. The expertise and supervision we brought to the table. And by doing so, that $1 million went a real long way at both golf courses. If I could have the next slide, please. And would you cue the video? This is a video of the redo of the 13th hole at Oso Beach, where we just kind of blew up the whole hole with the exception of a little bit of the green, and that is the finished product with aerial drone view. It's been well received by our customers. Next slide, please. So after getting Lozano to the point where playability was improved, customers were much more satisfied, and we were selling a lot more golf, we shifted to Oso Beach and tackled the things that needed to be done there. And it's kind of similar. 31 bunkers redone at Oso. We constructed 11 new forward tees to create a fourth set of tees with the shortest set, the copper tees, being at 4,220 yards. We remodeled and increased putting green size on 3 holes, of which the video and picture we just looked at was one of them, number 13 at Oso. We resurfaced the entire parking lot and added new curbing and, again, various maintenance equipment and irrigation system improvements. Next slide. So what do we have planned for the future? We have at Lozano, we have a serious erosion problem occurring on the lakes. The wave action in windy Corpus Christi moves the water into the turf grass, and we've lost 30 feet of the second hole at Lozano. The picture below is what you see at the water's edge is a erosion control measure called gabion baskets. This had been done prior to us getting involved by the city, and that lake edge was recaptured and protected with gabion baskets. We would like to do that at the Lozano golf course. And other things that we want to tackle is the restrooms at Lozano. The on-course restrooms could really use a redo, so we'd like to remodel those. We intend, since we've got new tees and changed the greens, we want to install a new sign package on each tee and also directional signs. And then we'd like to repair and replace the fixtures in the clubhouse restrooms. They've been there for a long time and could really use a makeover. Also want to put a new cart path in on the 14th hole. Next slide, please. So with this work and operations in place, how has that affected the financial performance of the business? As you can see in these, the chart and the graphs, rounds and revenue has been increasing steadily the last 5 years of operation, with 2019 being our best year ever. Next slide. And as this number is what was is that net operating income number divided by 2, and the city of Corpus Christi's share of the lease has been to date $1,092,411. Next slide. In addition to improving course conditions, we've been able to change the golf programming introduce golf programming that's made quite a difference, both to revenue and to the enjoyment of the game by our customers. About 4 years ago, we do regular surveys of all of our properties, and one of the surveys that the comments in the surveys that came here was customers wanted more tournaments, and it made us think that, the tournaments that happen at golf courses are typically corporate tournaments or charity events. And since we don't really have the facilities to host and accommodate those, neither golf course does very many tournaments. So we started creating our own tournaments, as in the first one was the Corned Beef and Cabbage Challenge, and that occurred on St. Patrick's Day in 2018. Since then, we've added all of these others, and they're fun, and they all have a specific theme. Many of them to Corpus Christi, like the Endless Summer. We'll take off of some famous movies like the Dirty Harry Classic, and then we'll have fun with that. And each one of these events, we have sold every one of them out since introducing them, and so we now have 6, and we probably will end up, in next year's programming, have one per month, because they are truly in demand and our customers love them. Next slide. The other new business that has occurred in the last couple of years has been our league play. Afternoons are quieter at both golf courses than the morning hours, and so we were thinking, how can we capitalize on that underutilized time in the days of the week? So starting in 2018, we introduced 2 leagues. The Wednesday Night Sundowner and the Monday Night Madness at Oso Beach. We had plans to start this year Bar Wars, which would be a competition among the local bars in town. And we also, next year, it looks like we're going to host a Valero League, as they like the idea, and they've approached us about hosting them for that. Not only have they been great for revenue, but they're a lot of fun for our customers. If you play the audio, please.
It's time for the halftime report with Pudge's weekly Sundowner Golf Tournament at the Lozano Golf Center. Every Wednesday, we get together and play 9 holes of golf and have a good time. $25 gets you 9 holes of golf, a cart, and unlimited balls to hit at the driving range. It's a scramble with a shotgun start at 6 o'clock, and afterwards, we enjoy some yummy food and ice-cold beverages and hand out a whole bunch of prizes. It's the halftime report with Pudge's Sundowner Golf Tournament, sponsored by BJ's Breweries and Restaurants, Edwin Watts Golf, the Corpus Christi Ice Race, Catch 21, Hard Knocks, Roosters, Rudy's Barbecue, New York's Pizza, Oasis Motors, and the Corpus Christi Hooks.
We wanted to play this to show that we have the privilege to partner with some of the local businesses who sponsor the event, and they donate the prizes that make the events be as successful as they are. Pudge Aridias, he actually comes out and he broadcasts from the Wednesday Night Sundowner on a regular basis. So we have a celebrity presence, and it's been a good time, and it's been good for business as well. So, next slide. We are privileged to be the stewards of junior golf in Corpus Christi. We host 9 boys and girls high school golf teams, and they're listed on the right, as well as pretty much all the middle schools in Corpus Christi. We're host of their local high school golf tournaments, the district golf tournament, and even the UIL regional competitions. So next slide, please. In addition to high school golf, we have our own outreach and programming for junior golfers. We have a junior academy that has 20 to 30 young people that come each week for instruction and playing. The time to learn golf is when you're young, and those that take advantage of this, it's on a subscription basis. It's very reasonably priced, much more reasonable than martial arts or ballet. Not that I have anything against ballet. And it's continuing to grow in popularity. We also do multiple junior camps, which are week-long events during the summer, where kids that are considering the game of golf, they'll come out, they'll get 5 days worth of instruction, and they're popular, and we've had to increase the number of camps as a result of the demand. And what we do at all of our golf courses, because we are committed to getting young people into the game of golf, juniors, 18 and under, they play free with a paid adult green fee. So we don't want cost to be a barrier to bring your kids along to the golf course. Next slide. And for adults, we have, this is new in the last 5 years. It's revolutionary learn to play golf programming for adult beginners, and this is coming in very handy right now, as a matter of fact, because we'll talk a little bit later. The effect of the coronavirus has brought new people to the golf course, and this class is designed to take a beginner and get them comfortable with coming to the golf course, playing, knowing where to go, how to play, so that they have a good chance of actually becoming a golfer. We also have, you can read the details, but we have ongoing lessons available. And Matt Charles, he is a full-time instructor. I mean, not many daily fee facilities actually employ a full-time instructor. Lessons are typically given on the side by other staff members, but we believe that it is so important to help people improve and to reach out to the beginners and the kids that we have a full-time instructor. Next slide. So as Mr. Zanoni said, we, as part of our contract, we do customer satisfaction surveys each year. And over the 10-year period, this has been the average. When we first started, it was in the upper 80s. Last year, 2019, it was 94% good or excellent. So what you see is the average over the period. Next slide, please. In addition to the customer surveys, we wanted to share with you a couple of personal testimonials that we've received from our patrons. We'll give you a few seconds to read these. This type of feedback, it really blesses us, and when they are willing to put it in writing, it's very gratifying that they recognize the work our team has done and the accomplishments that have been made. Next slide. So, as we go into the next period, we are thankful. We believe the relationship so far has been a great relationship for everyone concerned. And as we look to the future, I mean, what could we do to take the golf courses to an even greater degree of amenity to the city? And 10 years ago, we identified the executive 9-hole golf course at Lozano as a great opportunity. It's way behind in infrastructure, and as a result, it's a space. But with some investment, it could become one of the most unique facilities in all of South Texas, all of Texas for that matter. And if we can find funding for these things, they would all, without a doubt, improve the golf. And it also includes, our clubhouses are 40 years old. They're small, and we believe there's demand for corporate and charity outings if we had the facilities. Most clubhouses nowadays have more elaborate dining and a bar and grill type setup. So that is part of our potential future vision. And the last thing that we're very excited about now is, with the meeting that we had, Mr. Zoni and Brett, concerning the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We're excited about helping Corpus become a true golf destination, and we think the golf courses have come to the point where they are worthy of that, and they can be promoted. So we're really looking forward to that. Next slide. So this year is not complete, but we wanted to touch on it somewhat. Although there's no doubt we are all ready for the coronavirus to be under control. And it's been devastating for many industries, but it has had an incredible effect on outdoor sports, outdoor recreation, and it's been very good for golf. We would like to thank you for allowing us to stay open when the pandemic first started. We worked with city staff to put in many extra precautions to keep our customers safe. And I can tell you that there wasn't not one day went by that our customers didn't thank us and thank you for being able to come out and play, because they really couldn't do anything else at all. So we appreciate that, and our customers appreciate that very much. We also had excellent weather for golf pretty much this whole year. Not as many rain days, and we could sure use a little bit of rain right now. But as a result, rounds are up 24% and revenues are up 26% over last year. And because of that, we have the ability to track people who are new to us through our point of sale system. So we've run a report, and the report tells us that we've had 2,000 new customers to both the Oso Beach Golf Course and the Lozano Golf Center, which is incredible, and it's truly the result of the outdoor sports being popular. So surveying these customers, we see that the majority of new players are between the age of 24 and 45 years old, which is typically younger than most golf course clientele. And approximately 23% did not play golf before April of this year. So we're reaching out to these people. That's why we surveyed them, and we've given them and we've asked a bunch of questions, and have gotten a good response, and with the intent being to develop a relationship and keep them coming back to the facilities. Next slide. We're here to answer any questions you may have. Anything that was said?
Mayor, can you turn your mic on, please?
Every once in a while we'd get complaints, but I haven't had a complaint on the golf course from people playing out there in years, so that's good.
Glad to hear that.
The one picture you showed out there that took me back a few years was that number 13 out at Oso. That's where I started playing golf, was on that hole right there. I was caddying for my friend and I were caddying for his brothers that played on the Ray golf team. We were just kids, and they talked us into carrying their bags. We were pretty gullible at that time, and but anyway, then they just said, "Well, can you guys get it across that water?" And we hit 2 or 3, and then finally got one across, and I said, "Well, this is pretty easy." Well, that's how I show you how naive I was about golf. But anyway, that got me interested in golf, and I've enjoyed playing a lot. But at 13 was kind of where I got into it. I quit caddying on that hole, and I don't know whether I got across the first or second time, but it was really exciting to get across the lake and hit the green. So that was a lot of fun for a kid.
the wind is always in your face on that hole. And it's a very challenging golf hole.
It is. But a lot of good times. And we sold, I don't know whether you can do that anymore. His dad would take us over with a wagon and an ice chest and sell cold drinks on the number 4 tee box, because that was as far away from the concession stands you can get, and golfers were thirsty, and we'd sell soda waters. I don't know if we ever had permission, but we didn't ever get run off. Didn't collect any sales tax, but the golfers were glad to have it, because that was the furthest point away from the concession stand at that point. So, I don't see any other questions. Well, thank you. Great presentation, and the only other thing is that some of y'all may remember, but I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to play in the opening day Pro-Am out there at Gabe Lozano when they opened that Corpus Christi Golf Center back in the day. So that was a lot of fun. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Zanoni?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I know that was somewhat of a long presentation, but that took up for the 10 years that they haven't been there talking to you also, right? But, I mean, truly, I wanted to highlight this operation because it's a well-run operation. We're thankful for the leadership team with Ed and Dan Pedrati, who used to live here in Corpus Christi, right, Dan? So this is his hometown. And they truly care. I think you can tell it. You know, we're in the business of fixing issues right now, but this is one that is very well run. It's a great asset for the local community and also the tourists. But what I told Dan and Ed is that we're going to engage their operation, so you'll hear more from them. This is, I think, the first presentation in 10 years, and I would submit that that's not acceptable. So we'll be getting more periodic updates to the council and the community. Today was just a highlight of how well they're doing and how real fortunate we are as a city organization to have a great partner like this. The city can't do everything. I say that quite a bit when I'm out there in the community. We have to rely on our partners. And these partners know golf well. They're running 7 operations in Texas, so we're glad they're running ours here in Corpus Christi. And then finally, you did hear Ed talk about some deferred maintenance, and it's beyond the surcharge. And so I'm going to bring back to council in about 6 months or so a recommendation on how the city may want to invest a little bit more in partnership with Foresight to make some of those big investments that are outside of the normal contract, to include that erosion that's happening at the bigger lake at Lozano, and as well to take a look at that executive 9-hole course there at Lozano as well. So more to come from me in about 6 months or so. Okay. I think that concludes this item. There is actually, though, Council, on this item, there is an action administratively will extend the contract, but for this, in reviewing that contract, we did have 2 recommended amendments. One is on the surcharge. Today, they collect the surcharge and remit it to the city, who within a few months just gives it right back to them to do the work. So we want to change that to where they just collect it and keep it and review the improvements that'll be done with me or my representative, and we'll approve that list, and then they take care of the business. So it'll just cut out that circular loop of the money, which was set up 10 years ago, probably because the city wasn't for sure how it would work. And I think they've demonstrated confidence to us in terms of their financial management. And then the second one was to have periodic use of the greens if we want to show off the greens to prospective businesses or others that are considering Corpus Christi as a place for either employment or to set up a business. And so those are the 2 recommended changes or amendments, I should say, to the current contract that are recommended with this item today.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? And it's got to have a 2/3 vote, since we only have 2/3 present.
Yeah, we've got exactly
call the roll.
6, yes, sir. So for passage of ordinance number 2 on emergency, Mayor McComb?
Aye.
Council members Hernandez?
Aye.
Hunter is absent. Molina?
Aye.
Roy is absent. Smith?
Aye.
Barrera?
Aye.
Guajardo? Ms. Guajardo? Paulette?
She's on mute.
Okay. Paulette, can you unmute your mic?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your vote, ma'am, on this ordinance? For Foresight? Paulette?
You can mute herself again.
Did you mute yourself again? We need your vote. Maybe she lost. Let me see. Paulette? She's not answering, council. I'm trying to figure out if she's online or not. She had an issue. Do you want a table till she gets back online? Or
All right,
just
let
wait?
her we'll table it. Because we can't get the votes.
Yeah, we need 6.
All right, motion to table.
Second.
All
There
right,
she is.
well,
Well,
Oh, she
Hello,
back?
I'm
Paulette.
sorry.
Oh, good.
Motion to
I'm sorry,
untable.
could not hear. No, yes, I am sorry.
Okay, great.
Lord.
Okay, so that's 6 votes. Ordinance number 2 passes.
all right. Just one other thing I thought, for people that don't know, the Corpus Christi Golf Center started out as a private golf course to compete with OSO. And then over the years, it didn't make it, and the city took over that operation. And then how it went from the Corpus Christi Golf Center to Lozano. Well, when I was on the council, and Gabe Lozano had been on the council for a number of years and loved to play golf, played as much golf as he possibly could when he wasn't doing city business or his private business. And he passed away, and if you go back and check the record, I think I made the motion to rename the golf course for Mr. Lozano for his honor in memory for him serving the city for so many years. I think he was the first Hispanic mayor of Corpus Christi. So there's a lot of history of the golf course. And we made an eagle on that par 5, I think it's number 9 coming in, 10, 13. I remembered we made an eagle during that Pro-Am too. That was fun. Anyway, it's kind of been fun listening to all this stuff and thinking back all those good old days.
That's good, Mayor. Thank you.
I'm not sure I can hit a golf ball today, but anyway. All right, then we'll go, we appreciate that very much and thank you. That gets us city manager's report update on city operations.
Yeah,
Those
Mayor.
are 2 pretty hefty updates right there.
Yeah, I'm not going to do one today, and Annette's not here either, but just to repeat again, I know we've communicated to the council in the last couple of days, but the cases are going up again, our COVID cases. We had 123 new yesterday. Today, as of a half hour ago, there's 120 new additional. And so hospitalizations are up, and calls to the call center at the health department are up as well. So yesterday I sent a reminder to all the city employees, and I did copy the city council. This is information that can be used anywhere in any of your businesses or at home. And it's just a reminder that if you're sick, don't come to work. But if somebody in your household's sick, you may want to reevaluate meeting with people or going to work or school. Let's remember to wear our face masks and wear them properly. Make sure they cover your face entirely, your nose and mouth. And then review all your protocols that we've had in place. We've put a lot of good protocols in place, but we get complacent or we wish they were gone, and we revert back to the way things used to be for most of our lives. So point number 3 is let's review what has been working and get back on it if we've slipped away from it. So that's the message we put out to the employees yesterday, and I wanted to share it with you because it's practical for your families and businesses as well. So Mayor, that concludes the city manager's report, and we'll turn it back to you.
All right. Entertain a motion on item 3 for the minute approval of October 27 meeting.
So move.
So move.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? All right. We have consent agenda items 4 through 13. I'd like to pull number 4. I've got some questions on that. Anybody else have any? And I don't think any of the public comment related to item. I think they were about the mainly the drop-in shelter, whatever it is. Anyone want to pull any other items on, other than 4 through 13 on the consent agenda?
Mayor, I'd like to pull number 13, but I believe there's discussion on that in executive session.
All right, we're going to pull 13. We're going to pull number 4.
Mayor, I'd like to pull number 6, please.
Number 6. All right. You don't want to be able to give you tickets a lot faster? All right, we're going to pull number 4, 6, and 13. Anybody else have anything they want to pull or make a comment about any of them? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval on consent agenda items 4 through 13, except 4, 6, and 13.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All right. On number 4, I'm not questioning the need for the lift station or the reimbursement. I'm a little concerned and confused by the data that's presented to us. It talks about, and maybe this goes back to studying whatever fees we're doing or get something straightened out or something, but I just know in my, when you've got money set aside for certain things and then you go robbing Peter to pay Paul, it catches up with you. This is for a wastewater lift station, but we're taking money out of the water arterial transmission and grid main trust fund and a water distribution main trust fund and supplementing a fund that doesn't have enough to do it without these transfers. But the thing that's more concerning, what it says here in the agenda item that we get, and then if you turn over to the material that we have, it says they need this money to be transferred in the different amounts, and that it says the amount requested is $1,059,000. The total reimbursement agreement $712,000, and when all is said and done and all the transferring is done, there's a $25,000 balance left in all the trust funds. And then if you go back to page, if you got a book, if you don't have a book, I'm not sure what page it is, but if you had a book, on page 76 is where you're saying it's $1,059,000 is available in the multiple trust funds. And then after the trust funds have made all these switches to cover the $712,000 project, leaves approximate balance of $25,000 as of August 31st. But if you look on page 27, it says the trust fund has a balance on 8/31/20 of $151,000, and on page 76 it says you've got a balance of $1,059,000. So somewhere we've lost $8,000 between page 76 and 127. And I would think we would have more current numbers. This is November, almost pretty getting close to the middle of November. We'd have a little more current number than August, since we've completed September and October, to see what the real balance is. But somewhere, never mind, you lost $8,000 from page 76 to 127. But if my math is right, here's where I want you to help me understand the bouncing ball.
I'll try.
All right. In your water arterial fund, you're showing the current balance on 8/31 of $684,139.70. You're proposing to transfer $520,000 out of there. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so that would leave $164,139.70 in that transmission and grid main fund. All right, in your water distribution main trust fund, you've got a balance on 8/31 of $44,243.97. You're gonna transfer $42,043.97, right? I mean,
40,000,
40,000 even.
right.
So that would leave you then $4,243.97 in that fund. And then you're going to put it into the sanitary sewer trunk system trust, but it started out with a balance of 264. You're adding 560, so that gives you a balance, increase of balance in that fund for $824,394.17. And the project is costing you $712,412, which then would leave $111,000 in that fund. You're not touching the sanitary sewer collection line fund. So when the project's all said and done and transferring, back here you say you got $25,000 left based on the balances of the trust funds. But after you take out the 520 of the first one, the 40,000 of the second one, you add them over here to the third one and you don't touch the fourth one, the balances of 164,139, 4,243, 111,981 plus the balance of 59. You're going to have $339,000 left over, not 25,000.
Good point. Let me try to explain. The balance on the trust fund balance that you're looking at, you're right, it says August 31, 2020, okay? We brought this to you at the end of October, so there's the month of September and the month of October where the trust funds are just collecting fees from people platting and paying lot and acreage fees. So when you look at the numbers that you just went through, all of the trust funds, the arterial, the water distribution, the trust fund trunk system, and the collection line, that's from August. We have then brought before this body, the 133 from Matsagachi, the MPM homes, the 20,000, and the Grangerfield development, which is 160,000 and some change, which is where we said here on our presentation slide, hey, look, that looks like that could be an unaudited balance of 737,000 and some change. So you are looking at this balance, and which is in August, and you're using it for this particular item, which is in late October, October 27th, actually. We just haven't reconciled the books, so it is a little confusing, if you understand what I'm saying. When the month closes, finance has, obviously they have to reconcile a lot of books, not just the trust fund books, so it takes them some time to close the books, reconcile accounts, and then put out a new balance for certain accounts. So and of course, in October, it's the start of the new year as well, so it takes some time for them to go through that process. So we're still using, the August posting as the formal, as our latest formal balance from Finance Department. Do you understand?
Well, I do.
So,
but
and on top of that, I'm sorry, Mayor.
A person picking up the book wouldn't understand that.
Correct.
So I think somewhere we need to have, because I kept working these trying to make the numbers work, and because I knew we'd had projects come on board since then. So somewhere there needs to be some asterisk or something, even though we haven't got the balance into the month reports, that this is the trust funds at the balance, yet we've got obligations, commitments, whatever you want, however you want to say them, and then you add these additional commitments. That's where you get to your $25,000.
Understood.
But I knew we had 2 or 3 or 4 projects, but I'm assuming, well, these are the numbers they're saying, so they've accounted for all of those.
And we do, and all the numbers, all financial numbers come to you after finance certifies that, yes, these accounts can support these requests. We just have to, and I'm sure finance had got to a point where they were at least 2 weeks behind after the month closes. It's just, it was a start of the new fiscal year. It was a lot to do, so I'm sure we'll get more timely balances going forward. It's just that around this time of the year, it takes a while to get updated information going forward.
Well, all right, but I mean, just for clarification, I mean, just picking it up to look at my book.
Understood.
It didn't make any sense. So, but I had no problem with what we're trying to do or the project. I just wanted to make sure the numbers were balanced. So what you're saying is, you know, after you follow the bouncing ball and you add in the obligated but not paid, and you add this to it, out of all of these funds, you're gonna have $25,000 left.
Yes, based on this balance, and we'll have a balance the next time we're before you, but yes, that's correct. Unaudited, of course.
Have you had any money come in September, October?
Of course.
See,
Everyone's
that's
planning.
that's where you're getting off, is you've had money come in, but you're not identifying as it's being available. So
We have
are
an
you saying
accounting, I'm sorry.
does that 25,000, does that eat up all the money that's come in addition to what's been?
No, 25,000 is just off of the balance presented before you today, which is at the 8/31/2020. But every day almost, there's plating fee, people still plating property, fees are still being paid. And our next trust fund balance will show that, right? So it's $25,000 based on this $1 million, $151,899.27. And that was the balance as of August 31st. But the next balance clearly will show that money has come into the account over the month of September, over the month of October, into November.
All right. So just one other question, then I'll be quiet. If I'm Joe, the developer that comes in this afternoon, says I want to do a project, and I want reimbursement, I'm looking here, you've got 600, you've got $1 million, and I still haven't figured out how it got to be $1,051,000 on page 127 and $1,059,000 on 76, but we can deal with that later. I found you $8,000. If I'm Joe, the developer that comes in this afternoon and says, I've got a project, and I see here in your trust fund balances, you've got this much money, can I get $500,000? Do you at that point have the information to tell him, no, we really don't have the $25,000?
We'll vet the project and we'll send it really to finance to make that call, because they have the most current, you know, they know the balance of the money in the system. I get this information from them, right? So,
right.
Yes, we would entertain you. We would do the vetting on the engineering side, and we do the vetting on the finance side, actually.
All right.
They would, Mayor, part of the answer is they will get reimbursed as the money comes in.
Good point.
The
That's
developers, in this trust fund, the developers pay first, right?
That's
They have
correct.
to use their own money, and then they
That's
get
correct.
reimbursed. So Al and his team would tell the developer if they needed 500,000, there's only 25,000, then they're gonna tell the developer, as soon as the money comes in, we'll reimburse you. That's
And
how the
they
system
would be
works.
first in the queue, so he could
Right.
either wait for the project or spend the money and know he would get reimbursed.
Yeah, and then the developer at that point will have to make the decision, can I wait? Can my business pro forma allow me to wait? If it can't, then they won't do the development. That's why we're trying to replace the trust fund. It's really not a good mechanism for putting infrastructure in our city.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I may comment, I think this is Paulette. I think this is a good example, Mayor, to your point, of why we need a better mechanism to work with for our economic development. And thank you, Al, because I know you guys have brought this. I think it was put aside. But that's exactly, I think, what your point was in looking at other options so that we're not having to issue IOUs, if you will, because that's basically what could happen.
You're absolutely correct. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, entertain a motion then for item 4, I believe it was.
I move for approval.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second on item 4. Any further discussion? If not, does this take a 2/3?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Please call the roll.
So for passage of ordinance number 4 in its second reading, Mayor McComb,
Aye.
Council Members Hernandez,
Aye.
Hunter, Can't hear you
Hey,
very well, Michael, but I know you're online, right?
Heard him.
Did you hear him?
I heard
Okay,
him.
Hunter? Molina?
Aye.
Roy is absent. Smith? Barrera?
aye.
Guajardo?
Aye.
Okay, the ordinance passes.
All right, item number 6, who wanted, who,
I
yours?
pull that.
Yours is 6?
Yes, I just had a quick question for the city manager.
Okay.
A while back, I had forwarded you some information about a smart meter system for parking, and I know this item on the agenda has a little bit to do with that. So I don't know if the smart meter system was considered.
Yeah, so Councilman, what this item is just ticket writers. So it has nothing to do with a parking meter. I actually delayed putting this on the agenda because I knew somebody would ask me this exact question that you're asking me. So right now, the meters are managed by the police department, which we are evaluating to see, does that make sense to have the meters, parking meters that are downtown, they're up here in Uptown, they're at North Beach. Does it make sense to be in that department, number one? Number two, there needs to be some improvement, as you just mentioned, the smart meters. We have a variety of meter payment devices. There's areas where meters need to be to control turnover and parking slips in the downtown, and there are none there. So we're doing a full sweep analysis of the meters that we have to include what type of technology can we bring in. A lot of them are still the coin operated. And so that is what we're doing. We'll have something soon, in the next couple of months, to include where can the meter management program go other than in the police department. It's really not a good use of any police department's time. And so we're assessing that. Then we're going to assess the meters to make sure they're consistent, the type of device that we have, and then also look at location to make sure we have them at the right location. Meters are generally used to encourage turnover in vehicular parking so that somebody doesn't park and slip all day and go to their apartment or something of that sort, especially if there's a business, a restaurant that wants, multiple customers. So that's the answer. So this item today has nothing to do with meters. It's really with handheld ticket devices that the police department uses in traffic enforcement.
And the reason I brought that up is because there was part of the in the detail under the funding detail, it says that there's parking control listed under
Yeah,
there.
the money, is it where the money's coming from, Chief?
No, parking control uses ticket writers to issue citations. This is the mechanism used to issue the actual violation. So instead of handwriting a citation, it's a computer automated citation that interfaces directly with municipal court, so it's an automatic upload of the ticket. So this is not so much the device, it's from the violation point outward. Find a violation. Our traffic officers use them also. So traffic officers and your parking control officers use the actual electronic ticket writer rather than a paper ticket.
I appreciate the clarification. I just want to make sure that we didn't overlook this type of system.
No, yeah, we didn't.
Okay.
I'm appreciative of your input, Councilman, and it's one of those items we're working on. And the chief, I mean, his people are doing a good job, but it doesn't. We know it doesn't belong in the police department. And so with that, we're also going to look at those other things I mentioned to you, using some of this technology that you brought to our attention, and then placement as well. I know I've been working with Alyssa in the Downtown Management District. She has some concerns about where some of the meters are or are not. So, yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll bring that back soon to the council.
Move to approve.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. I just want to make a comment. When we did audit the municipal court and the PD, and this was part of the audit recommendations that we increase our efficiency and get away from the paper transactions, because there's just a huge paper trail that you can have drop off. And I would expect, Chief, this to be a big help for the department, right?
Yeah, these are currently in service. Remember, we're replacing the ones who are end of life, and they do help in those groups that write tickets on a prolific nature. That's their job. That's all they do. Yes, it helps tremendously.
And the record keeping you have to keep for those manual tickets, you spend a lot of time on that, don't you?
We do. Yeah, there's some manual processes in the middle that
fact, the audit had a lot of pages in it nevertheless, so yeah, I highly recommend this, just increasing the efficiency of PD.
Okay, I don't see any other lights on. Entertain a motion then for approval, item 6.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. I don't see the 2/3. You want to call the roll on it, or is it okay?
We can just, if you want to just do a voice, that'll be fine.
All right.
It's 5 on this one.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, item 6 passed. Let's see, then there was item 14.
Mayor, I was wondering if I could ask a question on something we didn't pull. I just had a question on it from Parks and Recreation for number 7. I wanted to prove it, but I just want to ask the question to our Parks folks. Did this actually go through the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for approval? Because I didn't see it in any of the documentation. And I
I'm
guess
not
they're
sure
not
if
online.
anybody, let's see. Is
Well, maybe we can
Tracy-
get that at a later time.
Yeah, okay, well, Tracy, are you on the WebEx? Okay, Councilman, we'll get you that answer.
Okay.
Second part
I
of the
just
meeting.
wanted to verify, because I
That's a
just
good
didn't see it in any
question.
documentations. And Joe reached out to me and talked to me about the whole thing, but after going through it again, I didn't see it, and I just wanted to get verification on it. Thank
Okay,
you.
yes, sir.
All right, then item number 13. Oh, that's where we go to closed session.
Yes, Mayor, we have an executive session on that one, so we'll do that first, and then we'll come back out with this item later.
All right, well, it's 1:15. Is lunch here? You want to
Lunch is here, Mayor.
Oh, you want to take our lunch and go in the executive session, do that now?
We can do that now, yes, sir.
So how do we, what we've been doing is just having the executive session, we eat our lunch, but we're scattering out a little more today than we have been. So we just want to say, take 15 minutes, from 12 to 12:30 to have lunch, and then have her come back for executive session.
Yeah, that sounds good. 1:30, let's see, 1:15 to 1:30 for lunch, you're saying?
Lunch is here, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
here, Mayor.
Yeah, so we'll recess for lunch and eat wherever you want to.
Right.
And then let's try to gather back about 1:30 for the executive session on item number 13, which will be over actually on 21, I guess. All right?
Yeah, you're going to read the language on 21, Mayor, please.
Okay. So I need to go over here to the right page. All right, the council will go into executive session on item 21 per the Texas Government Code 551.071 at approximately 1:30. We'll take between now and then we'll have our lunch. So stay where you can hear at 1:30 and let us all know that everybody's available at 1:30, 35 to get in the executive session.
Go ahead. Thanks.
My microphone on you. Reconvene the council
you're on.
meeting, and we're at agenda item number
13.
13 is a resolution authorizing an interlocal agreement, a cooperation agreement with Delmar College. Mr. Zanoni?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, so this item here is a lease agreement whereby Delmar College is going to lease us property for our future public safety, or police, I should say, police training academy. And it's a 50-year lease. This is only the lease, and in the future council meetings, we'll bring back to council design service contract for the police academy that was in the bond program for design only. And then in the future after that, we'll bring a construction contract. The lease does not dictate either of those two items, the design and the construction. Those will be independently reviewed by the city, and different agenda items will be brought forward to council for action then. So this item is only for the lease of property that Delmar has agreed to lease to the city for the site of the police training academy.
Well, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion authorizing the interlocal agreement for the lease of the site with exception of the language in Article 4.02.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and second on the, is that a motion to amend or just, do you need?
No, the way the attorney said, we only needed to mention that since it wasn't an attachment to the ordinance.
Yeah, it simply prohibits us from using that existing, that 4.02 in the distributed, that was distributed as the example lease.
All right, so bottom line, item 13 is gonna get us 5 acres of dirt and all the sunflowers that can grow on it until we do something, right?
That's
10
correct,
years.
Mayor.
Huh?
Although, that's
We have
correct.
10 years.
10 years.
We do have 10 years, but through all of this, I did want to highlight that the bond program was passed a week ago today, and already we have an item on the agenda moving forward on one of the items.
That's for the
So
design,
That's,
or we
well, this
hire
is just a
somebody to
lease.
do it.
Yeah, this is only the lease, but the point being, we're not going to wait 5 years to implement the bond
Right.
program. We're
I
starting
mean,
already.
it'll be a year or two before we get anything done, though.
Yes, sir, right,
But
but we
we're
already have
starting
an item that addresses one of the items in the bond program that the voters approved. In this
And-
case, it was 75%.
Speaking of that, I want to commend the voters. I mean, that 75% passage of a bond issue, I think demonstrates a lot of confidence in the staff and the council, what we brought to them. It was fair, didn't require a tax increase, and I think 75%, anybody in any town in America would be happy to get 75% on any bond program they put out. So congratulations to you and the staff.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mayor.
the motion and second to adopt number 13.
Quick question, real quick. Sorry to interrupt. Peter, just for clarity, I want to make sure, so this basically takes out any option for sole sourcing out within the lease, correct?
That's correct, Councilwoman.
Okay, thank you.
All right. There's a motion, Mr. Smith?
Well, just a little bit of clarity on there. So, as I understand, we're leasing 5 acres from Delmar and to build a future police academy on there to replace our very small deficient police academy.
That's correct, Councilman.
And the lease is for $10 a year
That's
for
correct.
50 years, and we have an option for another 50 years on it.
Yes, sir, that's correct, Councilman.
Okay. So for a total then of $1,000, we're going to get the use of 5 acres of land for 100 years.
We will, and then we'll also get access to a brand-new community college that offers additional educational opportunities for our cadets, also offers amenities like food service, bookstores, gift shops, outdoor seating areas, and amenities that we can tap into and reduce our construction costs to include use of their central chiller, use of their wastewater lines that are installed, use of all their environmental and pre-construction studies that have to be done, traffic impact analysis studies. So Delmar College, the key thing is that they realize the benefit of being a strong community partner and actually asked us if we wanted to locate there to help save taxpayer money, and in the end, that's what we're doing.
Okay, so we're going to see a real savings then. This is a mutually beneficial
Yes, sir.
arrangement that we have. And by having this new police academy, what does that do for us then as a city as opposed to what we currently have?
You know what, let's have Chief Markle come up and answer that, because he did a good job in explaining it the last time. What we have today, we know, because I've been there a couple of times, is very deficient. But go ahead, Chief, talk about how this is going to improve.
Mike Markle, Police Department. That's a great question, Councilman. Appreciate that. I say it lovingly, that we run an excellent academy in spite of our current facilities, not because of them. We invite folks from around the country to compete for these positions, and we have a very competitive process because people do want to come to Corpus Christi to work as police officers. And when they get here, they enter into a 40 to 50-year-old building, have to use porta potties female cadets too, on the outside of the building. And it's not a good environment. It doesn't showcase, the excellence of this city. And I think putting this academy with a this police academy with a regional academy will be wonderful. And it'll also bring collectively, I think, this whole region. We're the biggest city in South Texas. And there are a lot of agencies around that we can provide training with. We can build those alliances. We can move forward with 21st century policing as the hub of that. That is our goal, and that's what we intend to do in the future. And I think this facility will supply the synergy to do that. It's exciting. It's exciting times.
So a lot of what we've heard recently in the press, we know we need a educated, that's the wrong word, a very well-trained for 21st century policing. Will that help out there?
It'll help tremendously.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief.
Yes, sir.
All right, the motion and a second is for the lease for the 5 acres and clarification on that 502 or 40, what number was it?
4.02, Mayor.
Yeah. 2/3 required vote. Any other discussion? Mr. Smith, your light's still on, or you have something else? Ms. Worthing, we want to call the roll?
Sure. For passage of Resolution 13, Mayor McComb?
Aye.
Council members Hernandez?
Aye.
Hunter? Mr. Hunter? Mr. Hunter?
I heard him. I thought I heard him. Yeah, I
Okay.
can hear him.
Yeah, your
Very
volume's
low.
really low, Michael. Molina?
Aye.
Roy is absent. Smith?
Aye.
Barrera?
Aye.
Guajardo?
Aye.
Resolution passes.
All right, item number 14 is a public hearing, zoning on the Nimick family properties. Who's going to present this?
Number 14, please. Great. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The case before you is to rezone the property located at 3601 Interstate 69 from FR Farm Rural District to CG2 General Commercial District. The purpose is to allow for the construction of a commercial development approximately 50,000 square feet. The owner is Nimick Family Properties LTD, represented by Identity Capital LLC. Next slide, please. The property is located along the west side of Interstate 69, south of Northwest Boulevard and north of County Road 52. The property primarily fronts along Interstate 69, which is designated as an F1 freeway expressway. To the north of the property, to the north are vacant properties zoned the FR Farm Rural District. Further to the north is Walmart zoned CG2 General Commercial District. To the east, across Interstate 69, is a car dealership zone, the CG2 General Commercial District. And to the west is a small self-storage business zone, CG2 General Commercial District, and a large vacant unplatted property zone, FR Farm Rural District. The property is approximately 5.24 acres in size, and it is not platted. This property has remained undeveloped since annexation in 1995. Next slide, please. Adjacent developments, this property, there are no new plats and no proposed developments in and around this area. However, for access purposes, at the rear of the property is proposed a C1 minor collector, and that's a 60-foot right-of-way, approximately 40 feet pavement width. And that's the yellow line you see going north and south. And to the south of the property, County Road 52, is proposed to be an A2 arterial, which is a 100-foot right-of-way with approximately 52 feet of pavement. Next slide, please. The proposed rezoning to CG2 General Commercial District is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, compatible with the adjoining properties, and it does not have a negative impact on the surrounding area. And of course, this change would warrant an amendment to the future land use map. Next slide, please. The Planning Commission and staff recommends approval of CG2 General Commercial District. For Public notices were mailed out. 0 were returned in favor and 0 in opposition. I stand by for any questions.
Did you have anybody contact about to speak on this?
No, sir. Yes, no comments received.
All right, I don't see any lights on, and the planning commission recommended approval from farm to CG2,
Yes, Mayor.
and staff recommends approval. All right, any other discussion? I believe this, we'll open the public hearing, and Ms. Huerta tells me no one requested the opportunity to speak in favor of or in opposition to. Any other council members, or if the applicant's here or wants to make comment? Seeing no response, then we'll close the public hearing. And entertain a motion for passage, and it requires 2/3 vote, so if there's a motion and a second, then we'll have Ms. Huerta call the roll.
Motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion and a second on item 14 on the zoning case. Ms. Huerta, would you call the roll?
For passage of ordinance 14 on its first reading, Mayor McComb,
Aye.
council members Hernandez,
Aye.
Hunter,
Aye.
Molina,
Aye.
Roy is absent, Smith,
Aye.
Barrera,
Aye.
Guajardo.
Aye.
The ordinance passes.
All right. These first reading ordinances and 15 through 20, and the commendations to the city staff. The first 3 items are grants coming to about $80,000 to the city, so each one of those departments from State Farm for Auto Theft Holiday Public Awareness Campaign. I'm assuming that goes to the police department. Coastal Building Wellness Foundation to help, again, in the police department. And then Justice Division Violence Against Women Program. So about $80,000. Chief, you're doing good. Thank
Oh,
you.
well, take it when we can. Item 15 is a grant from State Farm Agreement, or agreed to give us $10,000 in the form of a grant for advertising. We're going to work with the RTA. We're going to decal one of the large buses, 4 of the smaller buses, and several bus benches to deter, our victim assisted, what we call burglaries, auto burglaries, remind people to take, lock, and hide and their goods, get them out of the car, keep their guns out of the car. As we say, your car is not a gun safe. We lose over 200 guns and automobile burglaries every year. That's just the ones that are reported. I'm confident that people that lose guns that are cheap don't report them, so that number is probably much higher. And you know that every year we have this song and dance, try to compel people, please take your guns out of your vehicles, don't leave them in there. Take your valuables out, don't assist your burglars. They do primarily just check doors, right? They're quick and efficient. They run through parking lots, checking door handles, see which vehicle's open, spend 1 minute or less in your vehicle and take your goods. So this is a grant for $10,000. As our advertising grants shrink within our other grants, the monies shrink within other grants, that's the first thing to go. State Farm has stepped up. It's a great initiative. I stand by for any questions.
I move for approval.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? You think you can tell 2/3 vote by voice?
I think so. Most people are online.
Well, if anybody votes no, we'll know it's not 2/3 of the
Right.
vote. All right, item 15, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Didn't hear any opposed. Item 16 is a grant for the Coastal Bend Wellness Foundation.
This is a working agreement with Coastal Bend Wellness Foundation. It's a Red Court initiative. This is our prostitution diversion program we started a few years ago. We want to do what we can to break that cycle, to get these young ladies out of the streets. But you have to work with them. You have to give them the care they need and the assistance and the programs. And we incentivize it. We work with the DA's office too, and they incentivize these treatment programs by holding off on charges and diverting them. It's a good program. I stand by for any questions.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion and second on item 16 for a grant of $22,000. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Heard no opposition. Item 17.
Item 17 is our Violence Against Women Act grant. We come here every year, so I think for 21 years now. So we supply assistance, everything from counseling to walking them through the process, to our victims of family violence, helping them get protective orders, giving them domestic violence 101 classes, whatever they need to get them through. This grant's in the amount of $48,000. $13,000 of it's coming from a match, and cash match, and about $7,000 in volunteer hours and those type of things, office use, copier use. I stand by for any questions.
All right. Any comments? Don't see any lights on.
Motion to
Entertain a
approve.
motion for item 17.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second for item 17. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Heard no opposition. Item passes. Item 18, ordinance interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of Corpus Christi, Regional Transportation Authority, for public safety radios. Mr. Collins, or who's going to do that?
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council members. I am Charles Mendoza, Deputy Director of Asset Management.
I think we're on the.
Sorry, sir.
No, that's okay. Gabe, you can take the presentation down, please. Okay, I'm going to restart. Hello, Mayor. Good afternoon, council members. Peter Collins, CIO. In this ordinance, this is the interlocal agreement, long time coming for us to get to this point for the P25 radio upgrade, which is the infrastructure side of the radio system. That's all the tower locations, repeaters, hardware, software, antennas, microwave. So there's three owners to the radio system. One is RTA, the other is the county, and the third is ourselves. This interlocals allows us to take funds from the other two owners, RTA and the county, so we can utilize it in the radio system upgrade. This interlocal has already passed through the county, and RTA is already in agreement with it. So as far as the total that we will be receiving is $800,000. We have a bond that was passed in 2018 for $2.4 million. Any questions?
Turn your mic on, Mayor, please.
Appreciate getting this worked out. I know when Judge Canales first came to office, we had a meeting early on, and she was wanting to get updated and informed on the system, and I think Peter's done a great job, and I thank you for that, Peter. Both Peter Collins and Peter Zanoni on getting the judge brought up to speed on where we are on this Metrocom. Don't see any lights on. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to
Item number
approve.
18.
Second.
Excuse me? Oh, you had motion. Mr. Nansen made the motion, and who's second? All right, Mr. Nansen.
Either one.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 19.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council members. I'm Charles Mendoza, Deputy Director of Asset Management. We're here today to seeking a one-year lease with Sinister LLC with monthly rent of about $100, including an option to extend it for up to 4 additional years with a monthly rent of about $300 for use of the city property located at 1401 Leper Street for a parking lot. Standing by for questions.
Yeah, can I just comment on this also, Mayor? So we know that Leopard Street's in transition, especially with the construction.
Right.
But there's a real strong sole owner of a automotive shop, Sinister it's called. And he's turned around what was a pretty blighted piece of property to a thriving business, and he's watching out for the city. He looks all up and down Leopard Street, so we really owe him thanks on behalf of the city in revitalizing Leopard Street, and we need good partners like that. He recently called me to say we have so much business, and because of the construction, we're hampered with parking. And so this lease, we'll lease him a small piece of property that we own just outside of the City Hall complex. We're not using it today, and he'll put the improvements in to include some additional fencing and spruce up the concrete pads that are there. So this is a good reach out to a good corporate partner right down the street from us.
All right, good. All right, any discussion on this? Entertain a motion for item 19.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Item 19 has it. Item 20. Mr. Zanoni, you want to do this? This pretty much.
Yeah, our Human Resource Director is here, so this is, come on up, Heather, and explain this real quick. But this is the final allocation of our federal money that came through the state for the COVID relief. We're, in this action, we're appropriating the rest of our balance, and then we're also transferring some additional funds to Nueces County. The judge and I spoke last night, and she would want a little bit more transferred, but this takes care of two things: some additional filters at the county courthouse, and then also money for the COVID clinic. And we'll continue to work with the county in the pandemic. This doesn't mean that we're out of here and the county's on their own. The judge knows, as we reminded each other last night, that we're working together. We have been from day one. And if that means continued financial commitment, then that's what we're all about. So Heather, just explain this, if you can, the rest of this financial transaction.
Exactly. So as City Manager Zanoni said, this is to allocate the final $3.6 million. So we have come back to council. This is the third time. We came forward the first time to allocate the 20%, which equates to about $3.6 million. Then we came back at another date to allocate $7.2 million to get us to a total of 10.8. At that point, there was still we had allocated $3.2 million to the county, and the city had the 10.8 million. There was still 3.9 million that we were going to come up with a spending plan in conjunction with the county. And so this allocates the remainder of that money. So 3.6 will be allocated within the city's budget, and then we will be transferring 415,000 to the county for the operation of the Amistad COVID clinic, along with equipment within their facilities to filter, to put a greater filtration on their air HVAC systems. The city will be installing similar HVAC filters within our facilities also. We are continuing moving forward with the spending plan, and feel that we are going to be able to spend all this money by the end of December deadline. So that does conclude
All right.
my presentation.
Well, it's unfortunately we have the pandemic, but fortunately we got these funds that have been a real help to the county and to the city fighting this pandemic. One of the requirements is that all of the funds had to be expended or allocated and submitted prior to December 30, I think.
That is correct.
And so some of the monies are actually committed to, I don't have the itemized list, but I mean personal protection gear and some of the other stuff, so that in the event, and it appears that we may go past December 31 with this pandemic, we'll have some funds until they can either get us a new CARES Act or what. But
yes,
that's been a real blessing for us in the city of Corpus Christi, Nueces County, to have had this $17 million.
It has been, and not just for the city, but also for residents too. We have been able to give almost $1 million to the school districts for e-learning equipment. We have over $1 million that have been given for small business relief, in addition to equipment, services, the COVID clinic, all the testing, things like that, that we've been able to provide.
If we
back
could
to
get
them.
just something real simple, a one page of who the organizations and where the money really was spent, so the public will see that, I mean, I think we've used the money as it was intended, and that's to help a lot of people within the community, in addition to the city and obviously the county, because they got their allocation the way it was set up, but we went above and beyond what we were required to do and worked with them and some others, so I think it's a win for everybody. Any other comments on item 20? Entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, item 20 passes. Briefings, we have none. We've already had our executive session. Identify council future agenda items. Am I recalling a comment made by somebody, and I don't remember who, a week or two ago, we asked about an update from TxDOT on the bridge?
Yes, sir.
Did I remember about a meeting next week, or they're going to make a presentation?
That's on the agenda for next week. And you may have seen some of their announcements, Mayor, on the future
I got
workforce.
the warm letter, so that's what I'm thinking. If it wasn't next week, we need to schedule it for
No,
next
yeah, it's next week. So in addition to what they were going to present, they're going to explain to the council their staffing plan, or Flatiron Dragados' staffing plan, so everybody's clear. I'm also going to be calling Valente. He and I, we got to talk, but then I had to take another call, and we haven't been able to reconnect. But we want to understand also what is going to be done and what's going to be left undone. We don't want half-constructed ramps and approaches and all that. So we're going to be real mindful of that, and we'll have him explain that to us next week.
All right. Those, I mean, a warm letter, not a fuzzy, comforting letter, but what's the acronym? Warn Workers Adjustment Reduction.
Yeah, it's a federal,
something.
Yeah, there's a federal act where
you have to notify it.
Yeah.
And they send that to the mayors. I don't know whether they send them to the county judges or not, but anyway, the city they're working.
Yeah.
We got a letter that's basically putting us on notice that there's going to be a substantial amount of reduction of force, but it won't take place until January. And they'll go into, I guess, that because Flatiron's supposed to be making the presentation, but it already the TxDOT next week.
Well, Flatiron PIO firm is going to be making the presentation, but we need maybe Valente or somebody from TxDOT will be here as well to talk about this new information.
Yeah, so next week we'll have that presentation.
Right.
And that's all we got. So we'll meet next week, and that'll be the last meeting of November, right?
Yes, that's right, Mayor. Next week, Tuesday, and then in December, there'll be 3 meetings, with the last one on the 22nd for the canvassing.
All right.
And a few
Anyone
other
else
action
have
items.
anything on? Meeting adjourned.